Welcome to the Becoming Body Smart podcast, where we unlock the secrets of sustainable health and fitness and help you master your health habits. If you're tired of quick fixes, generic blueprints, and chasing short-term results, you're in the right place. It's time to become Body Smart.
We will be continuing our topic from last week, where we talked about the 7 different types of rest. So I'm gonna read through those really quick, and then we'll jump into ways to incorporate those into our lives. So they are physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, sensory rest. So taking a break from things coming in, eyes, ears, all that stuff. Creative rest, social rest, and spiritual rest. So let's dive into that first topic. So there's 7 ways to incorporate this. This is from that same post. I do not know how to pronounce this guy's last name, so I'm just going to call him ABI, because otherwise I'll definitely butcher it. So starting off on that first one is scheduling the rest in. We've talked about making sure things are scheduled in a lot of different times on the call. There's a whole section on it in the course, but that can be a really effective way to get those things in. And it's going to be different for everyone, right? I know some people, like Sam and I will talk about a couple of different things that we use to schedule. Some people like to have it on just a day planner. I know that was my mom back in the day, like had her Franklin Covey planner that she wrote everything in. Paper doesn't work for me. But when we make time to schedule things in and we actually put it on the calendar, it becomes a lot more likely to happen. It's really easy to tell ourselves, oh, I need to do that, or we write it down on a to-do list, right? Get more rest, and it just is kind of this in the ether, right? Like, oh yeah, I should do that. It's somewhere in the mind, but actually putting it on the schedule, especially having it be something that repeats, right? So on my calendar, I actually have scheduled in on a daily basis, like a 15-minute meditation break, and having that there, and just even the visual reminder of like, oh yeah, I wanted to do that, and having it set aside on the schedule makes it much more likely to happen, versus telling ourselves like, I'll just get it in at some point, sometime, someday. Like, a lot less likely to happen. Any thoughts on that, Sam?
Yeah, definitely. The scheduling is necessary. Like, what is it? They always say we all have the same 24 hours. And we're always like, oh, if I just had one more hour in the day, what would I get done? Well, for me, especially, like if I schedule things and actually wind up following it, you kind of do get like an extra hour in the day, because you don't have to take that time to decide. When you've got the motivation, because motivation is an emotion, which is something I also learned recently. When you have the motivation, schedule it, and then if you do it later, you didn't have to decide to do it. You already decided. So that's already a little bit extra energy you have to put towards, whatever's important to you. So yeah, scheduling it is definitely that's a good number 1 for sure. Like, and I do have my paper planner. I've got my
I love it.
Productivity planner.
Oh, that one's fancy.
Yeah, it was too expensive. I'm going back to like a regular bullet journal for this next year, but I'm going to take this format. But you pick your top 3 important things for the day, and then you've got your schedule. And I always try to make sure that at least exercise or some kind of like rest, whether it's meditation or, going for a walk, getting outside at the end of the workday, that's a big one for sure. Is because you're not going to do it if you don't make the time for it. You're not going to find the time. You have to make it, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think that is true. I think that extra hour in the day, although I have grand ambitions, like, oh yeah, I would probably do all these things, it would probably be like watching a TV show or taking a nap or like doing something time wasting. So I like yeah, having that solid place. And I love that you said putting exercise in is the top, or some type of rest.
Hmm.
Is interesting. This is totally an aside, but I love the work of Lisa Feldman Barrett. So I've mentioned her here before on the calls. So she wrote the
You
book How
said
Emotions Are Made.
podcast.
Podcast. I did almost say podcast. You got me. And one of the things that she talks about is specifically with exercise is that it's making an investment in our future. So this idea that it's a short-term body budget expenditure, right? We've got to get up, we've got to move, and take the action. But because the payoffs are so much higher than the initial effort we put in, that it ends up being a great investment in the long run, especially as we string together multiple of those days. And so having that as a priority on our schedule can really make an impact. And you also mentioned, right, is like talking about energy, and we've talked again about that before, is so often it's not a time management issue, it's an energy management issue. And so if we put our energy into making sure those things are done, like Sam said, that like when we have that motivation, that we put it on the calendar, we schedule it out, we think about it, and then we have to use less energy trying to decide later on, right? We can use our energy in the most effective way. And that actually drives us straight into the second point of being intentional. Obviously none of us are always completely in control of our time, right? Whether it's family responsibilities or work responsibilities or community or service responsibilities, whatever that looks like, right? There's a lot of stuff that we have to do, and it can be really easy to just kind of get caught up in the ebb and flow of things. And I know in the past when kind of my stock response to people like, how's it going? Oh, pretty good, but I'm so busy, right? I'm so busy. I've got so much to do. And so we can get just kind of washed away in all the things that are to do, versus when we take time to be intentional, right? Like setting aside time to think through our decisions, think through our plan for the week. That's one thing that I've found really effective when I do it consistently. Helps me to be way more productive, and helps to bring the stress down, and is actually a way of helping my mind rest. And that is just doing kind of a 30, 45 minutes at the end of the week, and just kind of a weekly review, right? How did my week go? What went well and why? What didn't go well and why? And are there things that I might change, right? Are there things that I can subtract first, right? What can I get off my schedule? What can I get off my plate? And then are there things that I need to add in, right? Have I not been making time for these rests? And so being intentional about our decisions and making sure what we're doing aligns with where we want to be headed, while also respecting the responsibilities that we have. Thoughts on that, Sam?
Yeah, no, I love that you said that, like the whole thing about, oh, I'm so busy, as if like, I feel like busyness is like a virtue in our society. Like
Yeah.
you must be busy or what are you doing? But like you can be busy all day and still not get anything done. You can be busy all day and still feel unaccomplished at the end of the day. And that's, I think, definitely where the intentionality comes in, where, it's not about how you do it, it's what you do, right? So the intentionality of like we often, I don't know, I just am like anybody, we kind of fall into the rut of like, at the end of the day, like I just only have energy to watch TV. Like I just want to watch my episodes and go to bed. But is that necessarily the rest that I need that day? If I've been on a computer all day long working, or if I've been in front of my phone, do I really need to be in front of a screen more? That's not really letting my senses rest. So I like this idea of like the sensory rest thing too, of like just kind of we're always getting bombarded by stuff all the time. And when's the last time we just sat in the quiet? Like some people are so uncomfortable with quiet because it's so unfamiliar to us. We have to have like the TV on or white noise or something like that. That's something I've been trying to become more comfortable with, is just like quiet and just not being stimulated. And I think a lot of where our stress comes from is we're overstimulated all the time. There's always stuff coming at us and it puts us in fight or flight, you know? And so to be able to take those few deep breaths, like let your senses kind of settle, or, you know, whatever it might be, being intentional about the kind of rest at the end of the day, maybe watching that episode of Netflix, or, you know, whatever it might be, might not even be the kind of rest that you need right now, but it's just your habit, you know?
Yeah.
Think,
Oh, do you have something else?
no.
So, so I love what you said there, because, you know, you mentioned you're trying to incorporate more of that kind of sensory rest into your life. And again, all of these things, it is about practice, right? None of us are going to be perfect. And some of it is going to be really difficult because, like you said, we're not accustomed to it. And so
Mhm.
just practicing it in little doses. Um, even like letting there be space in our conversations. I know for me, that's one thing that's really difficult. I remember there's another little aside. I remember going to college and was going out with my parents and some family friends. One of my like we were in the same kind of social group, but weren't like super good friends. But his mom, like we were going out to the same school, and so his mom asked if he'd go along with us. And this is from Iowa to Utah. Like this is like 2 day trip, and I don't know why I didn't just. I basically stayed in the car with him the whole time instead of like with my parents, and my brother was in the car too, and I talked almost the entire time. Like I remember just feeling so exhausted. I was like, I can't stop this, and it just kept coming out. And so,
Yeah.
so even leaving space in our conversations
Mm.
and kind of resting enough to make room for understanding in our relationships, right? Rather than thinking of trying to, always being worried about the next thing that we're going to say, like taking time to rest even in those micro moments and learn, I think
Mm.
can be a really great thing as well.
Mhm.
Which is difficult. Is that a problem for you at all, Sam? Or are you pretty good at taking breaks?
I'm learning. I'm learning. I mean, I've been learning that like silence can be really powerful. Especially if it's like an emotional conversation too, like just allowing that space for, you know, thought or emotion, or, you know, that other person to, you know, be able to express themselves. I just feel like, yeah, I'm learning more too, because I'm the same way. I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 mile a minute, uh, a lot of the time talking, and to just like take a second and just be like, wait, hold on. Is anything I'm saying right now more beautiful than silence?
Hmm.
But if not, maybe don't.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Is anything I'm going to say more beautiful than silence? I think that's a great tip. Um, I don't know. So I was watching this new Netflix movie that dropped the other day. It's called Leo. It's an Adam Sandler movie, but it's animated, pretty
Mm.
cute. But anyway, one of the characters is actually she's like talking a mile a minute, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And people's face just goes like in the movie, right? Making a joke out of
Just
this, which I'm sure has happened to many people in my lifetime as they're listening to me spout on about something. But then one of the things
mm,
he gets her to do is to just ask people questions. And on this theme of rest, while we're working on ways to incorporate it in our life, considering that or consider that the people around us need rest too. And are there ways that we can help them incorporate some rest? And like you said, Sam,
mm,
sometimes people just need that rest, right? People need us to listen there and to be there for them in that way where we're not trying to solve the problem, we're not thinking about the thing next that we say, that we're just open to like be with them in that moment in the way that they need. And that can be restful, right? I can think of people who are really good at doing that and who've been that place of rest for me. And so can we find ways to make to be that rest for other people? And you know, I think any time that we improve our relationships is going to be a net benefit for both parties. Okay.
Yeah.
Next is spent a lot of time on that. We'll get through the rest. So the next one is taking breaks. Just
Yeah.
taking short breaks throughout the day to rest your body, rest your mind, kind of get away from the situation at hand. Sometimes I've noticed that I'll be sitting there doing something, and sometimes it's not even like actually probably it's the ones that are not like super engaging tasks, right? It's just kind of boring, monotonous, and you just feel the stress start to rise. And so just doing some pattern interruption, right? Taking a break and going for a short walk can be a really great way to kind of reset things. I actually have into the scheduling software that I use, it plans rest breaks every so often, right? And you can change that, right? It can be every, I think I typically do every like 45 minutes to an hour. You can kind of experiment and figure out what works for you. But I know that's been a really effective way of just helping to reset things and help me re-energize. What are your thoughts there, Sam?
Yeah. When breaks, I never used to take breaks. Like when I went back to school to get my PTA degree a couple of years ago, I would just sit for like 5 hours straight and bang my head against that textbook and like feel like I wasted a bunch of time. And when I finally actually got diagnosed with ADHD, I started looking up, ways to manage my focus when I, have to do all this schoolwork. And one of the part of it, but actually it's just setting yourself a timer for 25 minutes or whatever. You start with 25 minutes, you work for 25 minutes, and then you take a 5-minute break. And that break has to be like physically get up from your workstation and just literally go do anything, do the dishes, take a walk, like go do some push-ups, whatever it is. And it actually helped you. It seems counterintuitive, like, oh, I just, got started. I'm going to waste all this time taking breaks. But actually, like, it does give you more energy and more focus over the long run to just like step away and know that you can come back. And the other thing is that 25 minutes is like you're just working on one thing. And that's the hard thing because obviously ADHD, I want to go down every rabbit hole. But knowing that I'm going to have a break coming up where I can address this shiny object that I just quickly write down in my notebook and get back to what I was doing makes all the difference because it's you don't have in the back of your mind like, oh, I got to remember to do that. I got to remember to do that. You just write it down and it's like the scheduling thing again. I'm going to have 5 minutes in 15 minutes where I can go take out the trash or whatever thing it is that I can't get off my mind. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of breaks. I have to like make myself do it. But setting a timer, especially like a kitchen timer you can see, I just put it right next to my computer, helps a lot because that visual reminder of like, you're getting a break soon. Don't worry. you can focus for the next however long. Because you're going to get a break and that's a reward.
Yeah.
And the more you can build positive emotions with the tasks that you have to do, I think the easier it is to focus on them and the more energy you have, you're not fighting upstream.
Yeah.
It all just comes back to energy for me. I don't know.
It's really though. Well, it's interesting because that topic keeps coming up. We keep bringing it up again and again on the calls because I think it really is a crucial thing of being able to cultivate energy. And I really like the idea of the physical kitchen timer because it's really easy when we set a timer on our phone to open that up and then get sucked in, right? Oh, I've got an email. Oh, I've got these texts. Oh, look at this app, right? And then that plan
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It really doesn't. And so I like that.
Yeah, I finally like bit the bullet and spent $15 on a kitchen timer.
Yeah. Well, and it's using, and this goes, I think there's one of the other ones. Yeah, I mean, so this goes to 6, a couple of the other ones, right? 4, set boundaries, experiment is just trying to find the different tools that help us to actually incorporate those things. And I also like what you said, and I want to highlight it, is the focus is on one thing during that time block. I think a lot of us like to think that we're really good at multitasking. I recognize that I'm just not. I'm a terrible multitasker. But when you look at the body of evidence on multitasking, like it just shows that we're worse in everything and that we use way more time and get less accomplished than if we're able to just focus on one thing at a time. Because it takes energy, again, every time that we task switch. And especially when it's this and this and this and this, like you just lose a lot of energy and you lose a lot of time throughout the day versus just taking those breaks, doing those little resets, and structuring it in such a way that you're not distracted by something else during the break, right? That you actually use it to get some physical movement and to actually take a rest, to actually take a break when you're taking a break. So, okay. So next one I want to hit on is setting boundaries, and I think this one is crucial and also really difficult. I'm the worst at this. Is being able to, so this says, learn to say no when you need to, and don't be afraid to ask to help for help when you need it. And I think those two are crucial, and I think they're both really hard. I know at least they are for me, especially that saying no when you need to, right? I think there's a part of us that always feels guilty, right? Oh, I should say yes. I should do this thing. I want to show up. I want to be that person. And so we end up over promising what we can deliver on. And again, going back to energy, it saps us out, right? We end up redlining because we've taken too many things. We've said yes to too many things. And again, obviously, like there's certain responsibilities and obligations that we have to fulfill, right? That are just part and parcel of living the lives that we do. But also respecting ourselves enough and recognizing that when we say no to start saying no, right? When we learn to start saying no, we find that it improves our relationships, right? Because we're less stressed by all the things. We can give more energy to the most important things. And as a whole, right, like we typically feel better. There's less of that fight or flight response. And again, it improves our relationship. And so learning to set boundaries and then ask for help, right? Like, you know what, I just am having a really hard time managing all of these things. So Diane, we mentioned this on the call. Diane, a few weeks ago, said she just had a lot on her plate. And she had told her husband that she'd take him to the airport. And she went to him. She's like, I have a lot to do. I'm trying to get all this done. Can you help me here? Right? Would you be willing to drive yourself to the airport? Is that something you can do? And he said, oh yeah, for sure. Like I can totally do that. That's fine. We can make that work. And for her, right, it just one single thing, but helped her to feel less stressed, helped her to get all the things done that she wanted to in her week, and ended up being a really great thing. What are your thoughts on this one, Sam? Because I think this is a really important point.
Yeah. I mean, we always forget how much the people in our lives actually want the best for us. And that, I'm really bad about asking for help as well, because I don't know if it's like oldest child syndrome or something, but like I just always don't want to bother anybody and I want to figure it out myself. But then, again, wind up wasting a lot of time, a lot of energy, getting frustrated, and that just doesn't help the situation at all. So learning to ask for help is definitely a big one. And like not just setting boundaries, but holding the boundaries, because we can set boundaries all we want, but other people don't hold our boundaries. We hold them for ourselves. We always say like, oh, set a boundary. They're not respecting your boundary. It's like, are you respecting your boundary? Are you reinforcing it and saying no when you said you would say no, and protecting your energy and your time and your scheduled rest breaks, definitely a big one, definitely difficult for sure to not just people please and say, I think I don't know, we're my oldest children in the house, but the people pleasing is real. Of just, okay, I can handle it. It's fine.
I got this. I can do it. No, I think that's
I got this. I got this.
totally, and I love that. So the like not just setting boundaries, but holding to them, respecting them. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about the. Oh, awesome. Way to go, Sam, and putting those those points in there. I was like, oh, I forgot to check the chat, and then I saw the little button, and so
Just
there you go.
little old me being distracted like
Yes.
usual. A little bit, just a
Way to
little
go.
bit.
There you go. No, I love that. So let's just we're running out of time. So those we'll hit those last few points really quick. Um,
Hmm.
Disconnecting, right? Just scheduling time to disconnect. Cameron and I have talked about this before. I'm actually gonna go grab it because I got it right here. So it's this. As you hear me rummaging around.
So
this
exciting.
little
What's it gonna be?
kitchen lock box, right? So you can set
Oh, your box.
you can set the timer, right? And just put your phone or whatever technology in there and then just lock it. Don't let your kids get a hold of it. We've told that story before about how Cameron's son locked his phone in there for like a whole week, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was. And there is no fail safe because anyway, then it defeats the purpose. And so you like literally have to break, if you need something, you have to break the bottom of it open, and then you can buy new bottoms.
Oh my goodness.
To do that. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
just disconnect, and then this goes along with experiment, right? So maybe this doesn't work well for you, right? Maybe it's just setting app limits on your phone, or maybe it's buying a kitchen timer, or whatever number of other cues or things. Just try it out, but making sure that there's time for you to disconnect and to connect to the people in your life, or to connect to your purpose, or to connect to nature, or whatever it is, right? Just finding time to get away from all the hustle and bustle. That reminds me of that one Christmas song. Anyway, speaking of distraction, but setting aside some of the hustle and bustle and just really taking time to disconnect. And this speaks to what Sam said earlier in the call, is that we don't recognize sometimes when we're so engaged with all the information in front of us, like it actually starts to initiate the fight or flight response, right? That stress starts rising. And so disconnecting can just help to bring things back down, calm us down, and help us to refocus on what matters. And then making it a habit, right? Just as we say all the time, consistency is what's going to bring you through in the long run, right? The shortcut is consistency. And so taking all these things, experimenting, and trying to implement them in small and sustainable ways so that they become a habit. And so instead of having to take so much energy to plan, eventually it starts becoming a process, and it becomes easier and easier. And so finding ways to incorporate this into your life in ways that help you do it consistently is really important. Any final thoughts on those things, Sam?
Yeah, no, I love the phone lock box. I've been wanting to get one of those for a while, but I just haven't pulled the trigger. I've even heard of people like turning their Wi-Fi off at a certain time at night, or like really going berserker mode on it and just like no Wi-Fi for anyone. I guess you could do that, like set a timer on your router or whatever. But yeah, the making it a habit thing is, I think, probably the hardest part for me. Just because like habits need to be, I don't know. It's just building habits is hard. But I find that like having those visual reminders, setting the thing out, like if you want to do yoga every day, have your yoga mat out in a place where you'll walk by it and see it, and oh yeah, I'm gonna do my 5 minutes yoga right now, or whatever it is. Building your environment to kind of support those habits that you want to build definitely helps a lot. As I found when we moved back into our van, for those of you who don't know, my husband and I are van dwellers, but over the summer we were staying in an apartment for like 3 months, and by the end of it, both of us were just like, oh my gosh, my mental health is so good right now. Like, we're consistently exercising. I'm writing in my journal daily. And then as soon as we moved back into the van, it's been like 3 weeks, and we're both just like, where did all my habits go? And it's because we don't have that environment set up so easily to just as easily fall into those habits. I can't just have things out because everything needs to be put away because, space. So finding a way to that you can make it easy on yourself helps with that for sure. The habit thing, because that's the that's going to make it lifelong and sustainable, is just making it automatic, so
Yeah.
that'll save you more energy too.
Yeah, there you go. All goes back to energy. And I think that's such a great tip, right? Environment is so much of the equation. And so setting up our environment to support our habits, I think great advice there. All right, well, we're definitely past time, but thank you everyone for joining us. It was a fun call, so work on incorporating those different types of rest. We will look forward to the call tomorrow evening, so we'll catch you then. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Becoming Body Smart podcast. If you have questions, thoughts, or want to continue the conversation, reach out to us on our socials or join our community. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring you even more valuable content. Remember, sustainable health is a lifelong journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Live longer, live stronger, and become body smart.